What is going on, everybody? What is going on? Hope you all are having a fine Tuesday. Man, listen. I wasn't really planning on doing this one. But man, listen. It's just some more news came out today, and then on top of that, some more an interview came out today that we gotta talk about. So let me just go ahead and get this share out real quick. Make sure y'all, you know the drill. Like button, subscribe, post notifications. You'll know whenever we put out any new content. Man, listen, we're down bad right now. I don't think it really needs to be said, man. We are down bad right now. So, I guess I'll go ahead and start with the news that came out this morning, in that Desmond Ridder has been benched for good. He will never see the field as the Atlanta Falcons quarterback again. And if I'm being honest, the throw he made on Sunday was complete. That is a throw that gets you. That is a just bone. That is a fucking. I can't even describe how stupid that decision is. You not only do you throw the interception in the most critical time of the game where you're trying to seal it, but you end up losing. So, yes, I can understand in almost any other situation where it is warranted Desmond Ridder being benched. That's a throw that gets you on the bench. So I'm not necessarily tripping over that at this point. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, it's a throw that was warranted to be benched. It warrants you to be benched. But I think there's a bigger story to take out of this. But, first, let's talk about the Desmond Ridder era in Atlanta. Well, let's dive deep into it. Take a little close, view into how it is, because it is now over. Desmond Ridder started, I want to say it was exactly 16 games for him. So it's about a full season. And, he went, let me go ahead and pull up advanced stats. But, needless to say, it was a absolute failure. I think we can all understand that. But there's still, all right, here we go here. So go ahead, do this. I load an R. So Desmond Ridder in his career, in his 16 games that he has started, had a 63.3% completion percentage, 3,200 yards passing, 3,200 yards passing, 12 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. Overall career passer rating right here of 83.2. Rushing wise, 257 yards and then 5 touchdowns. I want you to look at this. That is a total of 15 touchdowns to 17 turnovers. Now listen. Desmond Ridder, for all intents and purposes, was a project. He was. And it was maybe a project that you can say we definitely rushed. Just because, listen, Lamar Jackson was never leaving Baltimore. And even in that, we weren't in the position to go get Lamar Jackson. We had to build this team before we went and could go get Lamar Jackson. But we took a gamble on Desmond Ridder and we fell on our faces with it. So Yeah, and listen, Ridder had some promising moments. He did. The game versus Houston was definitely probably his best game of his career. The last 4 games last year, he got better in every game. That's really what gave us hope. That is where we judged and said, listen, we built this team up, we have the weapons, and we really have the running game. All Desmond Ridder has to do is be a game manager. He's going to come in here, he's going to act as like an Alex Smith, and he's going to do his thing. And hopefully it pays off for us. And it did not pay off for us. We benched him halfway through the season. We went to Taylor Heinicke, and it was very up and down with the offense. It was. The offense got off to a fast start, but that Arizona Cardinals game, and maybe it wasn't all on Heinicke. Maybe it was just more on how the offense was called, which a lot of people are saying this, that Desmond Ridder in the end cost him and is going to cost Arthur Smith his job. And partially that is true. It is, because Ridder made some boneheaded decisions. He could not hold on to the football, and he turned it over. But I personally believe that you have to put a lot more of it on Arthur Smith in terms of how he set Desmond Ridder up. We changed our identity, or I don't know, changed it. We just abandoned it earlier this season. Around week 3, week 4, we abandoned our identity of being a running football team, of going out, establishing a run game, and dominating with it, in terms of wanting to be a more pass-heavy offense. Now, even though, and I pointed this out all the way back in week 4, I said, this team does not have an identity. This team doesn't have an identity anymore. We don't run the football like we should, like we were told we were gonna. But even at that, we were thinking, well, maybe they're going to run it later on down the stretch. Maybe coming out the bye week, they're going to make an effort to establish the run game. We even heard over the bye week, you're going to see a lot more Bijan Robinson in the offense. How many times did Bijan touch the ball Sunday? 8 times? And granted, Bijan can't fumble. So even at that, you have to give him the ball more. You have to let him build his confidence. So the bottom line to me is this. The Desmond Ridder era, he did not play well. He was a 3rd round pick. He was a big flyer from the jump. As far as his career goes, he will probably never get a big starting opportunity again. The best hope for Desmond Ridder's career is just to he turns into a Case Keenum type player. He turns into a hold on. All right, not that. Is that he turns into a Case Keenum. He turns into a Colt McCoy. But even at that, if you're going to be a backup in the NFL, you can't be turning. See, if Ridder continues to go somewhere else and turns the ball over at a rapid pace, he's going to be out of the league. Is the bottom line. He'll be playing in the XFL or the CFL. But ultimately, you can only blame the kid so much. He was a 3rd round pick, and he made some boneheaded calls. But the man who you have to credit with how he brought him on the football field is Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith didn't set this guy up well in terms of how much he put on this kid that I don't really think many of us were expecting. We weren't expecting us to lean into the pass 40 times a game on average. We were expecting us to run the ball down teams' throats. and you would get a time to play action. You get everyone involved. You might have some games where maybe we lean a little bit more into the pass. But overall, man, we were expected to be a team. We were going to run it down your throat. We were going to be going for on average, and you're not going to do it every game. I understand. That's why I said, listen, there was going to have to be a point this season where Ridder was going to have to gradually come to course, do a little bit more. But man, we have completely abandoned the identity of this football team in terms of trying to make the passing game the focal point. That's where we messed up with Desmond Ridder. It is. And that's why, he failed. Now, the boneheaded turnovers at the end of the day, most of them are on him. He fumbles very easily. And he just, it's so hard to understand at the end of the day. It is. Hold on a second. I don't know. All right, I should be back. This should be good now. With that being said, man, you gotta, the boneheaded decisions are on him. But that's why we were saying he was a project. This was a gamble, and a lot of us, including myself, wanted to believe in Ridder. We advertised Ridder, and we thought, because what we thought was Ridder was going to come in and he wasn't going to have to do much ultimately, or at least as much as as he ended up having to do. But some of the throws he did make, some of the decisions he made were just decisions. If you're going to be a quarterback in the NFL, you can't. But he was a third-round pick. I was wrong on Desmond Ridder, I can admit it. And now we're going to have to go out this offseason and find, hopefully, the future quarterback of this. Because, man, listen, we have the weapons. We have the running back room. We have the wide receiver in Drake. Now, granted, you got to shore up that wide receiver team. You got to shore up that wide receiver room. But that is going to be pretty easy. Kyle Pitts, I really feel like it is 50-50. But if you do get him with a new head coach, I would hope that head coach will know how to use it. I would also hope Kyle Pitts would be able to buy into that head coach. And we got the defensive pieces. And whoever is the next head, which we're going to get all into that in a second. That's really what this primarily is about. Closing the door on Desmond Ridder, listen, I wanted to believe in him. Like, I haven't wanted to believe in him leading into last Sunday. But he threw that interception. No, it's done. At the end of the day, you killed yourself on that one. But there were many points that led up to this, many building blocks, and where, yes, you do have to branch some of it off to Arthur Smith. At the end of the day, that throw was on you. You earned yourself the pitch. Like, you might have earned yourself just being on the street. And as a result of that, we're now moving back to Taylor. As you see, for Michael Rothstein, Josh with the Athletic, and Jeff Schultz, the Falcons are going back to Taylor Heinicke at quarterback. Once again, benching Desmond Ridder. Go ahead, get this report. See this report. All right, Falcons turning to quarterback Taylor Heinicke after loss to Panthers. Michael Ross. The Falcons are once again making a quarterback switch. Taylor Heinicke is listed to start Sunday against Indianapolis, the team announced Tuesday, replacing Desmond Ridder for the second time this season. Going back and forth. Hold on. This is a key point. Going back and forth is not something Falcons coach Arthur Smith wanted to do. Saying multiple times that he didn't want to have a quarterback carousel. Well, what do you have now? You're playing hot potato at quarterback at this point. It ain't a carousel. It's hot potato. I guess it could be a carousel. Quarterback carousel, hot potato, whatever. You are fucking around and you're about to find out. We're about to get all into that. But he talked about the possibility Monday when he discussed potentially making a switch at the position again. That's usually not a great situation to have. No shit, Sherlock. You want to be fair and objective and obviously give people an opportunity. It was a belief in him no matter what happens. It doesn't mean anybody's career is over, but we have to do what's best for the team right now. Cut the bullshit. Cut the bullshit. Well, at the end of the day, you better not be involved in making that decision. Because whether Ridder is cut or not, whether Heinicke's on this team next year or not, that's going to be for Terry Fontenot and hopefully the new head coach to decide. Not you. We're going to make that decision after you're gone. Ridder again made it. We all know about it. Completed. We already talked about that. Here it is. So, talking about Taylor Heinicke. Heinicke started losses against Minnesota and Arizona this season, completed 55.44% of his passes, 498 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. Heinicke is 12-14-1 as a starter. Let's see, 62.6 completion percentage, 6,200 yards, 37 touchdowns, 45 interceptions, played Washington, Atlanta, Carolina, and Houston. It was the second. Yeah, it was. So, I want you to. So, this is the key point right here. This is the key point in my opinion. 2 weeks ago, we were in first place of this division. 2 weeks ago, we were in first place of the NFC South, and we were in a position to break the thing open. We were from atop the NFC South and control their playoff fate to 6-8 and needing to win out and getting some help. Help would beat Tampa, losing their last two. And that all starts Sunday with the Colts, which we're not winning the NFC South. It's not happening. But this is a panic move because Arthur Smith knows he's about done. He knows that at this point in time, that seat is beyond hot. It is burning his ass up. The heat is on and he feels it. I think that first time he got benched, which I'm going to be honest, I really didn't allude to it the first time around, but I honestly felt like I don't think Ridder did enough to, I don't know if I'm going to say I felt like he didn't do enough, but I just don't feel like he should have been benched at that. I don't. I feel like at that point, that kind of was a panic attempt. That was a sign of panic from Arthur Smith. But then again, they covered it up with the concussion. But I also wouldn't be shocked if maybe Terry or Rich McKay's dumbass, or even maybe Mr. Blank went up and said, let's see what Taylor can do. It don't look like this thing is going to work out with Des. And if Taylor doesn't come and ball out, you can put Ridder back in. But let's just see. We're close to the bye week. I would not be shocked if that call came from a Terry Fontenot. This is completely Arthur Smith. The man on Monday, and I've never really watched Arthur Smith's press conferences, but the man on Monday, from the report, that is a move you make when This is a Hail Mary attempt, hoping Taylor Heinicke can win out. The Bucs can lose 2 out of their last 3. You win the NFC South, and because that is the only way his job will get saved. And it ain't happening. It's not happening. We have analytically, I don't know if that's a word or not. We have an 11% chance to make the playoffs. And that percentage chance shouldn't even exist at all. But we got an 11% chance. But a loss this weekend basically does it in. And we're done. But with that being said, to me, and this is me, this is absolutely a panic move by Arthur Smith. The walls are caving in, and he feels it. He understands and knows that this is as low as it has gotten. The Panthers had 5,200 people in that stadium on Sunday. Half of them were probably Falcons fans. They probably only had like 2,500 of their fans. That is how the Carolina Panthers fans feel about what that team is right now. They were 1-12. And we lost to them. And look, yes, Desmond Ridder made the throw, but this was honestly a culmination. It's not like this isn't the start. This is a culmination. Arthur Smith has had this problem his entire head coaching tenure in Atlanta. He has had this problem. And it just came to a head Sunday. Someone's got to get fired. And it's going to be Arthur Smith. It has to be. This was supposed to be the year. This was supposed to be the year where you were supposed to break through. You're supposed to finally make the playoffs. And whether you won a playoff game or not, or had success, you were supposed to gain that experience. This was supposed to be a key step forward. And in return, you give us this bullshit. So let's go over to the chat for a second. Awesomeness, I see you, Skylar, Alberto, Derek, what's going on, man? Listen, this is a very pivotal point. It's not good being in this spot. This is a tough time. Do you think I want to fire Arthur Smith? No. I wasn't anticipating it at all in preseason. I'm like, we're going to win the division. That's what we all thought. We didn't want to think about the reality of what happens if this thing doesn't go right. Because the thing is set up to go right. It's the weakest division in football. It's the weakest schedule in football. We get off to a freaking 2-0 start. After that, we're here. We're winning this division. There's nothing anyone can say. And since then, we've gone 4-8, and it's honestly been so hard at times to watch this thing unfold. It has. But with that being said, a time like this, and where Arthur Smith has panicked, and talking about Heinicke for a second because I really listen. You know what Taylor Heinicke is? Hometown kid. Grew up in Gwinnett. You know, he gets another opportunity. At this point, you know, I don't know how different it'll look from Desmond Ridder. Maybe you see at times a little bit more of a spark in the quarterback play. Maybe will it look a little easier to watch the quarterback? Yes, but it don't really matter. It don't. It's not going to matter in the long term because Heinicke ain't the guy, and Ridder isn't the guy. Honestly, I don't think Heinicke will be on the team, and if it were up to me, neither of them would be on the team next year. That's why, honestly, it's 10-man listen. I'd rather see Woodside. I really would, because at least that's the one man we don't know what he can do. We don't know if Logan Woodside was starting earlier. He would look like, all right, I'm not going to say it. But maybe you knew where I was going. I would rather see what he looks like these final few games. But it's too late. You're going to roll with Heinicke the rest of the year. This is a Hail Mary attempt, and it's going to fail. So then where do you go from here? Well, that's where I was going. Nah, man, nah. Yeah, it wasn't. We're not going to go there. But I wanted to listen, if Logan Woodside was starting this game, I would be intrigued. I would just to see how he did. I really would be intrigued. Not that he would probably do anything. But I would just want to see, because that's the one man we have not seen. But in a time like this, it calls for someone's presence. And it's our owner, Mr. Arthur Blank. And we kind of went into it yesterday about, who is after Arthur Blank. To me, it feels like, from what I read, it will be his son, Josh. It'll be Josh Blank. That will be the future owner and chairman of the Atlanta Falcons when Arthur Blank does pass away. But he's still here. He's still here. And he did an interview with the Georgia Public Broadcasting Network today. And he talked about Arthur Smith. So I actually have not seen this interview. Now, I've seen the line from it, but I haven't seen his interview. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go on mute, and we're going to watch this thing.
So in 2024, is Arthur Smith going to be your head football coach for your team?
Well, when we're committed to Coach Smith. We're going to play these last 3 games. We play them to win them, and we'll let the season play out and go from there. Obviously, this has not been the kind of year we expected, and you would hear that first from Coach Smith. You'd hear it from our fans, you hear it from our players. So we understand that. We understand the challenges. So at the end of the year, we'll, assess where we are and go from there.
Does he have to get to the playoffs to come back?
No, I don't. I mean, that was never really a requirement. The requirement was that we have a more competitive team this year, a winning team this year. And I think that, through this part of the season, it's been mixed, quite honestly. And that's what I think, it's what the coach would say. And Arthur is a very, very honest, he looks at himself very critically. So he's not, he comes from a beautiful family that has great values. And he reflects those values in his leadership as best he can. So we'll see how the season plays out and go from there.
Quarterback situation's been tough this year.
It has been tough, yeah. We certainly, had high hopes for Desmond Ridder, and he's done a lot of good things for us this year, but, he would be the first to tell you, he hasn't been the kind of consistent performer that, we'd like him to be. And in this business, the NFL business or the business of college ball, you have turnovers. It's a very tough thing to overcome.
And it's a public business. You got to please the fans.
Well, you got to please the fans, but it's not. It is about pleasing the fans, but it's about really putting a product on the field that represents the best of our roster, the best of what we can put together. And in my case, it's having the best people that we can who are making the critical decisions. I don't want to be in a position ever of having to pick players. I mean, I've never done that. I wouldn't know how to do it. I'm like a fan in that regard. I have opinions, but so does Jeff, and so does everybody else in Atlanta. But I think it's really making sure we have the right people, making sure they're fully empowered, make sure they have all the resources, and that they're making the decisions that we should make to put a winning product on the field, and that's their job.
All right, so I heard the first half. I didn't necessarily hear the second half. So this is what I take away from what I just, because all you just watched it with me. Listen, we know how Mr. Blank operates. We saw it with Dan Quinn. We saw it with Mike Smith. Even though I think he fired Mike Smith too damn fast. He is going to do it in a respectful and a way that he is not going to throw you under the bus. And that's just the type of guy he is. Look at the work he does. It is the type of guy that he is. But to me, you know, he said this. He said, you know, we're gonna let it coach these final 3 games, and then we're gonna go from there. We're gonna examine after that. Now, the thing, and I swear to God, it should be a unanimous decision. It should not be a hard decision at all. It's going to be a tough decision to make, a tough pill to swallow, but it's an easy decision to make. Arthur Smith, when the game in New Orleans ends, week 18, and God, I still hope we sweep the Aints. I do. But when that game ends, week 18 in New Orleans, we're not NFC South champs, and we probably will not be. Arthur Smith should be gone. He should. We'll lose in New Orleans. He will be gone. I do feel it. I honestly feel that if we do finish 7-10, and especially you lose as that final game, I feel like that final game versus the Saints is going to be a key indicator. And look, I don't want to lose versus the Saints. But I also do not feel Arthur Smith should be the head coach of this team for the future. I don't. I feel like, okay, he's got to coach the final 3 games. You know, and that's just the type of man Arthur Blank operates as. There's 3 games left. But at the end of the day, beyond those 3 games, his future's not in Atlanta. His future could be on McAfee. It can be with Mike Vrabel wherever he goes, or it can be at a FedEx corporate office in Memphis. But it does not need to be in Flowery Branch. And Arthur Blank, you know, he talks about we have to have the best people running this team. I feel like, and he does talk a little about appeasing the fans. He's like, well, yeah, you got to appease the fans, but you have to have the best people in charge. Dude, if you actually think by some odds that Arthur Smith is one of the best dudes that could lead this football team, he's not. You might have a man on this team right now, on this staff, better than Arthur Smith and Ryan Nielsen. Now, we don't know that. We don't. And I have said this. I do not want to lose Nielsen. I feel like for whoever comes in as head coach, Nielsen needs to stay. But I also feel that it is much tougher to lose an offensive coordinator, as we saw when we lost Shanahan, than it is to lose a defensive coordinator. Now, we ain't had a defense this good, you know, in 25 years, arguably. You know, this is no doubt the best defense we've had since at least 2017. That's the last time we went to the playoffs. With that being said, though, Arthur Smith should not be back as head coach. He shouldn't. And he touches on Ridder, and, you know, he pretty much says all he can. He said, look, we hope Des could turn out, you know, in a good way, and he didn't. You know, and he's not the guy. So that's the bottom line, man. But man, listen, it's Arthur Blank. Do not make the same mistake twice. And listen, Arthur is nearly 82. He's going to be 82. And I know he just turned 81 not too long ago, but he's 81. He's in his 80s now. That's why I kind of went into, well, what's after Arthur Blank? because he is that old. And he probably wants a championship. And he probably knows that, listen, I don't got much time left. I do want to see a championship here. So, at the end of the day, I'm not making the same mistake twice. And now, the thing that I really, and listen, Arthur Smith, he probably is a great dad. I've heard the sentiment a lot, Arthur Smith is a great, and he probably honestly is. Arthur Smith is probably, at the end of the day, he is probably the cool son of a billionaire. He is. He could probably, honestly, I don't really know how he would do full-time on McAfee. But he could maybe make it work, because McAfee, McAfee has maybe the best personality in sports media. And he does, if McAfee lets him on and he likes McAfee, he could probably work pretty well in that regard. But at the end of the day, it's just not it here. It did not work out. It's time to cut. It's time to cut loose ends. It's time to move on. It did not work out. We don't have time to wait. This dude's passing game concepts and how this dude designs plays is horrendous. The way that he's been failed at getting a Kyle Pitts involved, getting a Drake London. Drake London realistically could be that focal point of the offense. He should be getting those targets every week. I don't care what situation it is. Drake London should be that focal point of the offense. Should be that. He should be that 8 to 10 target a game guy. And then maybe that can open up the rest of this offense. It can. You can get Kyle Pitts going. Now, this offense is meant to be set up and live and die by the running game. And that's something Arthur Smith has completely abandoned. So, man, listen. Just, the whole sentiment is Arthur Smith probably a great guy? He is. At the end of the day, when it comes to calling games, he's a dumbass. And it might sound personal, but at the end of the day, for a fan like me, man, I love this team. I do. This team means more to me than it probably does a lot of fans. I don't think many people can understand it. I go to every game. I watch every game. I break down every game. I want this team to win. I let this team pretty much decide how my week goes. So, yes, I absolutely want to see the best. And when I don't see the best, I try to have patience. I did at the beginning of the season. I tried to have patience. I tried to have patience the first 2 years. We kind of had to because of the salary cap situation. But the patience is done. You have the team. You're not succeeding with it. You're not the guy. You're just not. It didn't work out. And at the end of the day, man, Arthur Smith is not the coach for us. He's not. This move for putting Heinicke in, listen, what to expect out of Heinicke these past few games, I really don't know. I don't. I would, if you made me guess, I would probably say you're gonna see a more competent quarterback, a more seasoned quarterback, a quarterback who's been around the league longer. But at the end of the day, it's all about how Arthur Smith calls these games. It is. And how he approaches this thing is going to be a key factor. It is. So with that being said, man, there really is nothing much else to be said. But this is a panic move. Putting Taylor in is a panic move. Because if he felt his job was safe, honestly, he probably would let Ridder finish off the season. Even though that is absolutely a throw that gets your ass a spot on the bench, he would let Ridder finish off this season if he did not feel he had to do something then and now. That's what it is, man. And that's really it. Let's see. I don't know if I'll drop this link or not. I might do that more so because I will be going live probably on Thursday to talk a little bit about this Colts game. Let's see. You see, let's get to some of these comments here. Meet Washington. Let me try to show this comment. He says Arthur Smith is gone. Blank just want to do it the right way. Yeah, and that's what I hope it is. I just hope he is gone. He needs to be gone. It did not work out. He is not a good head coach at this point. He's not. We wanted to believe he was. We told ourselves he was. He ain't. He needs to be gone. He tried to get greedy, and he's cost us this season. Andrew says Arthur Smith needs to be fired and Ridder needs to be the backup for a quarterback we need to draft next year. Man, listen, I think now in all likelihood, will we keep Ridder as a backup? Yeah, I think yes, it's definitely possible. I don't think Ridder needs to be on the team at all. I just think you trade the man, you cut ties with him. I don't really know if you can trade him at all. I feel like you cut ties with him. I guess I got a little bit of time here. I'll go ahead and I'll drop that link if anyone wants to come in or trade for Fields. Man, that's going to be something we're going to have to talk about more this offseason. Is trading for Justin Fields and that dynamic. Could it be possible? Sure. But I said this on Sunday, and I think I said it yesterday. Maybe the call we need to make for Chicago ain't for Justin Fields. Maybe it's for that number one pick. And man, listen, because I think then at that point, you have to look at it and say, but that all depends, I think, on who the head coach is. It really does. If it's a Ben Johnson, it's maybe you bring in a Joe Brady, but I think Ben Johnson should be the top candidate. I really do. I don't want to think about Arthur Smith being the head coach of this team next year because he should not be. And I honestly feel like as the days go on, it feels more and more likely like Arthur Smith will not be the head coach once the game in New Orleans ends from King 2. Is it worth giving up a lot for a number one pick? Well, listen, we got to get a franchise. We have the team. We do. We have the team. We have the wide receiver. Well, we don't have the wide receiver room, but you can go and get a wide receiver too for the cheap. You can. But we got the team overall. We got the tight end room. We got the running back room. We got the defensive pieces. So yeah, man, that's really the big thing. Is it worth giving up a lot for a number one pick? Well, man, listen. You gotta get that franchise guy in the NFL. That's what you have to have. You have to have that franchise guy in the NFL. I feel like Jay Daniels is the best fit for this offense. Well, the thing is, man, this offense might not be this offense next year. It should not be this offense next year because Arthur Smith should be gone. But if you do bring in a Ben Johnson, and the thing with Jay Daniels to me is this: I think he's very, very athletic, and I definitely feel like there's something there with his passing. But my big concern with him is the size. I've said it once, I'll say it again. It is his size, and you have to be durable in the NFL. See, that's the big concern with what's the boy's name? Penix. That's the big concern with him, man. Is he's too damn injury prone. He's injury prone. No, that's the other. That's the big concern with Penix, man. He is injury prone. So Jaden Daniels, if Jaden Daniels can put on some weight, if he can get in that weight room and kind of do what Jalen Hurts did, yeah, I would definitely be open to that possibility. But I've said it once, I'll say it again. Drake May is my favorite quarterback coming in. And I feel like you bring a Ben Johnson in here, you know, that's almost, I mean, I don't want to say anything, but that could be a match made in heaven. Do you think we need a veteran head coach that might be available? Ooh, I'm tired of the hot new offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator and can't make the playoffs. And can't pay off. Or make the playoffs. That's the same thing. I heard, I don't know if it was Fricky or Carl Dukes, talk about that maybe at this point Arthur Blank is just sick of the whole getting the new hot offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator. Now, I think one of the big things is this. The big thing we need to look at is this. Ben Johnson in Detroit had a first-hand account of completely revitalizing that culture. Going in there with Dan Campbell. And I would hope we pick up a thing or two about that, because that's something we need here in Atlanta. And I think that, you know, Ben Johnson is that type of candidate. But I can understand that point, you know, but the only thing is, man, I don't want to see a Bill Belichick. I just don't. Not as head coach. If we could get a Bill Belichick up in that front office up high, I wouldn't be against it. Now, Harbaugh, the thing with Harbaugh, man, is this. I wouldn't be against a Jim Harbaugh coming in here, but I feel like it could be a conflict of interest. I do. I feel like with Jim Harbaugh, you might have a situation where does he see eye to eye with a Terry Fontenot? Does he? Or does the bigger question, does he see eye to eye with a Rich McKay? And Rich McKay needs to be. He does. So I think that's the thing. Let's see. He's going to be a franchise quarterback. Who are you talking about? Jaden Daniels? Yeah, man. I'm pissed, hurt, disappointed because, man, listen, this was the year we were told we were going to break through. Mike Tomlin, man, listen, Mike Tomlin is not leaving Pittsburgh. He's not. Mike Tomlin will not leave Pittsburgh. I understand, man, he's a Super Bowl coach, but he's won the Super Bowl. He is not leaving Pittsburgh. If there was a veteran coach out there, I would be open to go getting. It would be a Harbaugh. But I feel like then there will be could be a potential conflict of interest. But if it could work, I'm all onto it. I am. Because, man, look at that 49ers team. He went in there and he completely revitalized everything there. First year, they're in the NFC Championship. But I honestly feel like Harbaugh's going to stay at Michigan too. So I do think Ben Johnson's the best guy out there. I really do. So yeah, man, I don't. If anyone maybe wants to come on the panel, y'all have anything else to say? Anyone else want to speak their piece about anything? Man, listen. These are conversations we're going to have more in the off season. We do have 3 games left. And you know, I've said it, man. This is actually a pretty damn interesting take. We will be stuck with Rich McKay until Roger Goodell. It's Goodell. I understand, man. Is not the commissioner no more. McKay wants to be the new commissioner. Okay. All right. Cool. Just get the guy out of here. That's all I gotta say. Just get the guy out of here. But I don't know if it's Arthur Blank is scared to get the man out of here because he wants the man to he's scared the man knows something about him that will bring the Falcons down. That's the only thing I can think of, man. But at the end of the day, these are listen, we got 3 games left, and look, this is the year we can still the NFC South great. We can. Arthur Smith has not won 3 games here. That's why I said the chances we're winning this division is second to none. We're not doing it. But if by some miracle we did, damn it, we did it, But with that being said, man, it just, to me, it's not going to happen. If it by some chance were to happen, I would probably go and I'm like, how the hell did it happen? How did it happen? But it's the NFC South, man, it is. And this was the year until we're going to break through. So if it happens, man, look, Arthur Smith, yeah, that's the only way he can save his job. But it's not going to happen. And he should be going by the season's end. And we need to go out. We need to get the quarterback. We need to get the coach. And after that, we see how this thing goes next year. But bottom line, man, is this has been a real disappointment. It has. But no one wants to come on and talk about it. There's really nothing else to say from the chat. Appreciate you all for coming through. And I will be back on probably, because I've been on 3 days in a row. I don't know the last time I've done that. I've been on 3 days in a row. So probably will take tomorrow off. And I'll probably be back on Thursday or maybe Friday or somewhere around there to talk about the Indy game. Just, do we have a chance? If you watch my picks video, you would know how I picked the game. And man, listen, we got 3 games left. First, the Colts this Sunday at home. It's probably going to be the final home game because we are not winning the division. Versus the Bears, and then we go down and face the Aints the final week of the year. Listen, I always want to beat the Aints. I always do. But there could be a conflict of interest there too, man. This is a point where it's like, well, yeah, man, they said, we don't finish strong, he's out of here. So that's what it is. And at the end of the day, that is something that it needs to happen, but also, man, you don't want to lose to this thing. This was the year until we're going to break through. But that, we're going to have to talk more about that at a later time. I'm going to get out of here. Appreciate you all for coming through the chat. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next.